bakery girl.
Say hello to Jess Stewart, better known online as Micro Bakery Girl. And now she's at the center of one of the weirdest dramas the baking world has ever seen.
Do you have something that you just absolutely love to bake?
Yes, she built her brand in the cozy world of sourdough bread making. And once you hear what she's been up to, you'll be asking the same question we did. Why? Why is Jess charging hundreds of dollars for sourdough courses that people claim are just recycled TikToks and Instagram? Why is she allegedly deleting comments and blocking critics faster than you can say hydration ratio? And why is the bread community of all places suddenly divided like a poorly sliced boule? And that's just the beginning. Jess's story is part of a much bigger trend, turning niche hobbies into cash cows, one viral video at a time. It might sound ridiculous, but trust us, there's money, manipulation, and a bit of madness baked into this story. So let's get into it. Now, before we move into the controversial part, let's take a look at the Micro Bakery Girl story. And just a little reminder for this video, I'll be using the names Micro Bakery Girl and Jess Stewart interchangeably. Micro Bakery Girl's Instagram account was created in November 2024. As of now, she has over 130,000 followers. That's right, in less than a year, she's already racked up a following that would make most influencers foam at the mouth. Now, when you take a quick scroll through her page, the aesthetic is very much what you'd expect. Soft lighting, neutral tones, and calming music playing over montages of her kneading dough in a clean, cozy kitchen. It's giving cottagecore meets Pinterest board in the best way. Now, the very first video on her page is, unsurprisingly, just her making bread. And not in a flashy, commercial bakery kind of way either. More like, I'm a woman of peace and sourdough starter kind of way. And from there, you'll find out that every other video has that same relaxing vibe, slow, satisfying, and shot like an indie movie. And yes, the background music is your standard soothing track that plays in every aesthetic TikTok ever made. Now, you'd think a new Instagram or TikTok account would enjoy a brief moment of peace before attracting any drama, but that wasn't the case for Jess. Less than 2 weeks after launching her profile, the controversies began. In fact, it got so intense that if you search Micro Bakery Girl on TikTok, all you'll find are scandal after scandal. Now, believe me when I tell you, that's just a tip. Because immediately after she launched the last video you saw, Jess's account shifted from just showing bread to basically offering free tutorials on how to live your soft girl baking fantasy. In one caption, she writes, "Know the feminine urge to open a bakery that's also a bookshop and sells flowers? Well, this is my version of that."
Know the feminine urge to open a bakery that's also a bookshop and sells flowers? Well, this is my version of that. Welcome to my micro bakery, a small-scale, home-based bakery that I run right from my home kitchen that I've called the Little Loaf. I may not have a shop on Main Street with big bay windows, but every morning I step into my micro bakery, I feel like I'm living in a romance book. It's just me, the smell of fresh bread in my oven, and that quiet sense of magic that comes from making something with my own hands. I have a small stand outside where I display my baked goods for customers to pick up, along with a little library filled with free books and a basket full of flowers. I didn't need to invest in a big commercial kitchen or rent a space. I simply used the tools that I already had, keeping my costs low and focusing on the fun stuff, creating delicious treats. And it's actually working. My neighbors and friends regularly stop by when I open each weekend, ready to pick up their favorites. This little setup has become more than I ever expected. It's a way to bring joy to my community, share something that I love, and make a little extra money on the side too. So if you've ever felt the urge to start something of your own, just know that you don't need a storefront or a huge budget. Sometimes the dream that you've been waiting for can begin right where you are now, with what you already have.
So from that video, Jess introduced her brand, and according to her, she runs a home-based micro bakery called The Little Loaf. It's just her in the kitchen baking fresh bread while the world outside is quiet. She's got a self-serve stand outside with baskets of baked goods, a mini library, and even free flowers. Think fairy tale, but with gluten. Now, if this sounds too dreamy to be true, just wait, because this whole aesthetic is part of a much larger narrative. She openly talks in her videos about how she was financially struggling before she started this business. Apparently, she took a chance, started baking at home, and in just a few weeks, boom, full-time income, beautiful home, and a rapidly growing online brand. She's not shy about saying it either. This is now her career.
A little while back, I was looking for a fun way to make some extra money without having to leave home, and I found it in the most unexpected place. As much as I loved my job as a graphic designer, I always felt like something was missing. And to be completely honest, money had been a little tight for me too. That's when I saw a group of girls on Instagram running a micro bakery right out of their home kitchen. The second I saw it, I knew that was exactly what I wanted to do too. So I dove right in. My kitchen quickly became a flurry of activity, flour everywhere, my oven was working overtime, and the smell of fresh bread and cookies was filling the air. And after a few weeks of perfecting my recipes, I set up a small stand outside of my home with a little library filled with free books and a basket full of flowers. I was so nervous. Would anyone even stop by? But then something amazing happened. One by one, my neighbors actually started showing up, and soon there was a small line, and I was handing out loaves and cookies faster than I could have ever imagined. That very first day, I sold out of everything. And what started as a simple idea has now turned into a small home business that I genuinely love.
Now, what makes this even more fascinating is how polished the whole thing is. Every frame looks like it was lifted straight out of an interior design magazine. This isn't just a girl selling bread, this is a full-blown brand. And whether it's organic success or something a bit more curated, one thing is clear. The micro bakery girl knows exactly what she's doing. So, is this even legal? Okay, so let's back it up a bit. Once Jess started popping up on everyone's feed with these wholesome bread loaves and soft girl aesthetic captions, people had questions. And not like, what's your starter recipe questions. Now, these questions were actually asking her if it was legal to do such. Because let's be real, she's clearly making money. Like, a lot of money. Selling loaves from your house sounds cute, but it also sounds a little sketchy if you don't know the laws. But Jess had an answer ready. In one of her videos, she's like, "Let me introduce you to my micro bakery. Now I know what you might be thinking. Wait, are home bakeries even legal?" And they sure are, all thanks to something called Cottage Food Laws. Then Jess goes ahead to show us the cost of everything she mentions. According to her, these laws make it perfectly legal to sell homemade bread, cookies, brownies, whatever, right from your kitchen. Sounds simple, right? And yes, the laws vary from state to state, but the way Jess presents it, it's almost like anyone can just start printing sourdough and cash from their kitchen counter. But here's where things start to heat up faster than an overproofed bull. Because just a few months into launching this account, Jess decided it was time to become not just a baker, but a baking mentor. That's right, she dropped the bomb. She's launching a full-on online course, and she made this known in a particular mind-blowing video on her Instagram page. Now, in this video, Jess just went about blabbing up and down, nothing serious, but what actually stood out was the caption. It reads, "It's official. I'm launching my brand new online course, Micro Bakery School, on my birthday, January 13th. This is the program that's going to help you turn your love for baking into a profitable micro bakery from the comfort of your home. And it's going to be oh so good. I'm pouring my heart and soul into the course and community to make it the most comprehensive micro bakery program ever created. I'm talking 47 step-by-step video lessons, along with done-for-you branding kits, ready-made menus and best-selling recipes, copy and paste social media marketing templates, an online community filled with other amazing micro bakery school students, and so much more. It's everything you'll need to start, run, and grow a micro bakery. If you're excited to join when the time comes, here's your next step. Comment waiting below, and I'll message you the link to join my waiting list, so you get 50% off during launch week. You have to be following for me to send you the link, so follow first, then comment waiting, and I'll send the link right away. I can't wait to help you start this incredible journey. Now, this looks nice, someone taking a step further and expanding their brand. But then people started digging, because it wasn't just the course that was new, everything was new. Jess herself says she just got into sourdough recently, and when someone asked her, "How many years of experience do you have in baking sourdough and in having a micro bakery?" her response was, "I started baking sourdough for friends last fall and began taking it more seriously this summer. Then I moved in with my in-laws in September, and we turned one of their spare rooms into the baking room, built the bread stand out front, and I created the Little Loaf brand." So as you can see, Jess had like 4 to 5 months of experience before turning around and selling a full-blown course to other aspiring bakers. People understandably had thoughts. And here's where it gets even weirder, because apparently this story she mentioned here about the in-laws in the spare room, that wasn't the original version. According to some internet detectives, that part of the story changed over time. But we'll get into that later, so don't worry, we're just getting started. So here's where the drama really starts. And like I said earlier, everything started when she announced she was launching a sourdough micro bakery school. And that's when things got messy. You see, at the time, Jess said she had little or no public track record in the business world. And here she was suddenly selling a course like an expert. Now, plenty of creators do this. There's nothing wrong there. But this is how it happens when they make such a post. Their fellow influencers do a background check and endorse them when the check is over and verified. But when it came to the micro bakery girl's turn, a TikToker named Sourdough by Sid wasn't buying it. Now, Sourdough did her background check, and what she found was alarming. She posted a video warning people not to fall for what she saw as a scam. But it did not end there, because if you check what was just said, Jess claims to have started her micro bakery between September and November, and by January, just a few months later, she's charging people to learn how to do the same. So the math just doesn't math. How can you charge people very highly to teach them something you are yet to master properly? Well, to understand this properly, let's take a look at how much this micro bakery girl charges. Well, she charges $200 for registration alone. Now, the price of the fee is not yet known, but if you do the math properly, the fee should be around $600 to $900. Now, this is way too much for someone with no experience. But here comes the twist. What if I shocked you and told you that what you just saw is not entirely true? There's more to the story. Because when she posted that on her website, many supported Jess and some argued that she was wrong. This led to a serious debate until a user on LinkedIn brought the truth behind the pricing to us. The post read, "How Micro Bakery Girl Became the Biggest Instagram Scam of 2025. After her growth came her big pitch, a $2,050 online course, later sold at a discount for $497, that promised to teach others how to do the same. Hundreds of followers jumped at the chance, convinced they could achieve financial freedom through baking. But there was a problem. Her success story wasn't entirely real. Red flags in the community backlash. As more people enrolled in her course, skepticism grew. Here's what the baking community and internet sleuths discovered. 1. Her micro bakery wasn't actually running when she launched the course. When she sold baked goods briefly, she quickly pivoted to selling the course rather than operating an actual bakery. 2. She lacked proper licensing. She claimed to be a legally registered cottage food business, but records showed she only applied for her permit after being called out online. 3. Her course was overpriced and filled with generic advice. Buyers expected step-by-step guidance on running a bakery, but many reported that the material was vague and basic. 4. She ignored critical challenges of the industry. Running a successful bakery involves food safety laws, local regulations, and operational costs, topics she barely addressed. 5. She was monetizing a dream, not a skill. Instead of being a baking expert, she mastered the art of selling a lifestyle. So I had to scrap out some things from this article because we already talked about them in this video. But you can see from this article that Jess actually intended to collect $2,050 for a course that was not even launched yet. Honestly, this is pure fraud. But it doesn't end there. So the first big red flag that Sid mentioned was the inconsistencies with Jess's location. Jess had originally stated she was running her business from one state, but receipts from book orders and product shipments told a different story. Sid chose not to reveal the state for privacy reasons, but the implication was clear. Something didn't add up. From there, things only got worse. Jess reportedly claimed that her micro bakery called Little Loaf brought in a full-time income. Bold claim. Except when Sid searched for the business, there was nothing. No official website, no Yelp page, no Facebook or Instagram for the bakery itself.
That her micro bakery makes her a full-time income, and it is under the name Little Loaf again. But if you search Little Loaf, and there is no such business that exists. There's actually not one anywhere that you can find on Facebook, Instagram, or anywhere, though she does have a micro bakery account where she is selling her micro bakery school course. She does not actually have any type of account for her actual micro bakery. I have no idea how she is garnering any type of customers, much less enough for a full-time income, if she has literally zero social media presence for her micro bakery.
And that's the part that raised even more eyebrows. How are you pulling a full-time income from a business that doesn't appear to publicly exist? It's not just suspicious, it's almost impossible. No social proof, no client reviews, no online trail. Yet somehow there's a course being sold to teach others how to do the same. And that's why Sid's videos hit a nerve. People aren't just mad about the course or the sales, they're mad about the timeline, the lack of transparency, and the feeling that they're being sold a dream that's never actually existed. Jess hasn't directly responded to Sid's videos yet, but the damage is already being done. Comments under her posts are filled with questions about whether she's legit. And this might just be the beginning. As more creators are called out for selling expertise they haven't earned, audiences are getting more skeptical. Let's take a look at some of them.
As a home bakery coach, Micro Bakery Girl is a fraud. Even though I see she's selling out in 10 minutes and that sounds really impressive, what home bakers don't realize is that the first time she created her micro bakery, it wasn't real. It wasn't licensed. It was a free bread stand in exchange for content. And when people called her out on that, she did admit it. She lied about so many things like making a full-time income, having a licensed home bakery, selling out on her first day while she never sold anything. All of that information, along with her beautiful content, is what made her account Micro Bakery Girl go viral. And then she could very conveniently launch her new, legit this time, micro bakery to over 180,000 followers on Instagram. 99.9% of home bakers don't have this kind of advantage. From the evidence I've seen, her business was built on lies, misrepresentation of the truth, misleading information and wording and marketing. And this is affecting real home bakers with real families, and that's why I have to say something about it.
At the end of the day, it's not just about sourdough. It's about accountability, honesty, and whether you've actually done the work before you start teaching others how to do it. And for Jess, unless she clears up these inconsistencies fast, her micro bakery empire might crumble before it even has a real foundation. But somehow the story continues. Now, we were not able to get the full video of what Sid said because it was deleted, but from the little we got, I was able to join them together to make meaning out of it. So earlier on, we showed you a video where Sid said that in the state where Jess claims to be running her business, no trace of it exists on social media. Now look, it's possible to run a successful business without social media presence, but when your entire marketing relies on it, this raises some serious red flags. So we did some digging and found out that Jess's business is only found on a platform called Hot Plate, where people sell baked goods. But here's the thing, it only has one recorded sale. Sid highlights this in her video, saying that despite claiming to have a thriving business, there's barely any activity on Hot Plate. Just one bread drop, a couple of test runs, and that's it. This is where things start to get odd. But when you go further to Sid videos, she then brings up the issue of changing stories. Jess was initially claiming that she ran her business from a beautiful home, but now according to her, she's moved in with her in-laws. That means that the lovely house we saw in Jess's videos isn't hers, but it's her in-laws. While it's not uncommon to live with family, the way Jess portrayed it seemed misleading. In her original video, Jess presented the home as her own, which helped promote the image of success. But now with the story shifting, people are starting to question the authenticity of her claims.
So this home that she is very much saying is her home is actually her mother and father-in-law's home, which is fine. I've actually had to live with my in-laws before, so there's no shade there. I probably wouldn't have posted pictures and videos claiming it was my home, but...
Then that brings us to the climax of the controversies. There's the whole cottage food law debate. So what is cottage law? Cottage food laws, also known as cottage food operations or home-based food businesses, allow individuals to prepare and sell certain non-potentially hazardous food items from their homes with minimal regulation. And from what I showed earlier, Jess claimed she was operating under these laws, which would mean she was legally running a home bakery.
Told you that there's a way to run your very own bakery from home without needing a storefront or a big investment. Let me introduce you to my micro bakery. Now, I know what you might be thinking. Wait, are home bakeries even legal? And they sure are, all thanks to something called Cottage Food Laws. These laws make it legal for you to sell homemade baked goods like bread, cookies, brownies, and more right from your home kitchen. The laws do vary by state, but the basics overall are pretty simple. Often you'll need to register with your local health department and follow some simple guidelines, like labeling your products correctly and making sure that what you're selling is considered safe, things like baked goods, jams, or other non-perishable foods. A great resource to start finding the laws in your area is forager.com. What's great about a micro bakery is that you can sell your baked goods in a bunch of different ways too, with a cute bread stand outside of your house, at farmers markets, or through pickup and delivery, which is perfect for us apartment dwellers. Starting your own bakery from home is now more achievable than ever. With just your home kitchen and a love for baking, you can turn your passion into a business that brings joy to your life. Plus, who wouldn't want to make a little extra income doing something that you already love?
So like you saw, she claims to have a cottage permit here. Now, according to the website Cottage Food Laws, you must be registered in their health department before having a permit. The article reads, however, the Department of State Health Services, or local health authority, has authority to act to prevent an immediate and serious threat to human life or health through emergency order, recall orders, and delegation of powers or duties. Health departments are required to maintain records of all complaints against a cottage food production operation. So like I said, the health department actually controls everything. But when people reached out to the health department to verify this, they found no records of a business named The Little Loaf or any registration under Jess's name. In fact, this is something that Sid pointed out herself.
Whenever other people reached out to her county's health department, they said that there was no business under the name Little Loaf, nor any business registered under a Jessica Stewart that existed in their county and was registered under the health department. When this problem was brought to her attention, she said she actually wasn't operating under Cottage Food Law, despite the fact that that is what all of her posts.
So like you just heard, when Jess was confronted about this, Jess said she wasn't actually operating under Cottage Food Laws, but rather under something called the Cupcake Bill. Here's where it gets interesting. When you go to the website, you'll find out something specific there. It reads, in response to the shutdown of an unlicensed 12-year-old's $200 per month sales of home-baked goods to help out local fundraisers, Illinois Governor Pat Quinn on June 10, 2014, signed the Cupcake Bill, which unanimously passed both houses of state government and allows home bakers to operate without registration by local governments or health departments. The Cupcake Bill permits $1,000 per monthly sales of home-baked goods provided 1. Sellers A. have no complaints made against them to health departments, and B. inform purchasers that the food was made in a home kitchen. And 2. there is a local government ordinance authorizing the direct sale of home-baked goods. So the Cupcake Bill would limit her earnings to $1,000 a month. However, Jess claims to be making a full-time income from her business, which contradicts the earnings cap of the Cupcake Bill. So either Jess is making more than she admits, or she's operating under rules that don't line up with her claimed income. This discrepancy raises more questions than answers. Jess's story took an interesting turn when her husband, Landon Stewart, entered the picture. When Jess's sourdough bakery was marketed as a passion project born out of financial struggles, Landon's company, Clients and Community, tells a very different story. Landon, who co-founded the company, claims it has made over $10 million in just 2 years, despite Jess's earlier claims of tight finances. According to their public profiles, Landon's business is thriving, with active social media accounts and large-scale engagement, raising some serious eyebrows.
I love business. I saw the other day someone wrote on like their Facebook that was basically like, the goal of like business is to get freedom so that you don't have to work anymore. And like for me, like I just couldn't disagree with that like more, dude. I feel like the goal of like business like is the business. Like for me, like that is the point of business is to be involved in business. Like if I had if I sold a business for $100 million and I had all the money to where I had all the time in the world, I would 100% start another business. Like, cause that is like the point of the business is the business.
It's even more curious considering the fact that Jess's husband has openly discussed his business model, reselling other people's courses. And this is not something that he hides. In fact, in one post, someone asked him how he makes a profit. His reply was this: "I recently bought a course for $497. Inside, it teaches digital marketing from A to Z, and it came with master resale rights. So I can now resell the course myself for $497 or more, and I get to keep 100% of the money I make. I don't have to record a single training video. The training classes run the community or anything else. All I have to do is publish 7-second reels on Instagram promoting the course, and anyone who buys through me pays me directly, and I keep 100% of the profit." Now, I know you may be wondering what's wrong there. This is just a pure business optic, but let's break it down. He proudly admits that he buys courses, adds his name, and sells them for 100% profit, all while putting minimal effort into creating content. Normally, when people do this, they normally give the real owners some cut, but he doesn't. So this takes us back to Jessie. You see, with Jess entering the scene with her own course, despite the apparent inconsistencies in her narrative about financial struggles, it raises suspicions that her bakery might just be another part of a reseller scheme. Could this be another case of selling a product that doesn't fully exist, marketed through catchy reels and viral content? The situation only deepens when we take a closer look at Jess's Instagram content. Sid pointed out that many of her videos, which showcase the same bread being shaped, cookies being scooped, and loaves being placed on the shelf, are all filmed with strikingly similar backdrops and even identical leaves in the background.
Most of these reels have the same clips kind of chopped up and cropped together in different ways. It's the same bread being shaped, it's the same cookie dough being scooped, it's the same loaves being placed on the shelf, but she's in a bunch of different outfits whenever she's putting them on the porch. The problem here is that her hair is the exact same, her makeup is the exact same, the blemishes on her face are the exact same, and the leaves are in the exact same place.
So it's clear that the content was filmed in rapid succession with minimal effort to make it seem genuine. Her outfit changes and background shifts, but the rest of the details remain the same. This, of course, raises the question, is this bakery real, or is it just another course resale scheme? It's hard to ignore the mounting evidence that suggests something shady is going on behind the scenes, especially with the strong similarities between Jess's marketing and Landon's resale business practices. But as with all these things, it's possible that it's just a series of coincidental details. Jess could genuinely be running a bakery and attempting to help others. However, given the overwhelming signs pointing in another direction, it's difficult to see it that way. But when we see the comments in her husband's Instagram account, it just shows us that people are fed up. Some of these comments include, "But I thought your wife was hurting for money. Now you teach your wife how to scam. Super cool, bro. Like if you're here for some micro drama. Some say the more you know, the better. But things only get messier from here. Let's talk about the second video Sid posted where things start to spiral." She says she was contacted by multiple neighbors who know Jess and her family. According to them, the infamous bread stand wasn't really a legit business. It was a staged photo shoot. Yup, aesthetic bread for the gram.
Have confirmed that she was doing a free bread stand as a photo shoot. The neighbors that got this free bread got it knowing that it was free bread for a photo shoot. So if you're receiving a loaf of bread in exchange for being in a photo shoot, does that not make you a paid actor? And maybe she is selling some bread too. I've only heard from the people that were made aware of the photo shoot and who received the bread.
So as you heard, now these neighbors say they got the bread for free and were told ahead of time that it was part of a shoot. So think about this. If someone gives you a loaf of bread in exchange for being in a photo, that kind of makes you a paid actor, doesn't it? And while Jess might be selling bread on the side, everyone Sid talked to says they got it for free, and they were aware of the purpose. Then Sid drops a whole new piece of the puzzle. Jess has another Instagram account. On it, she's promoting the exact same kind of $497 Instagram course that her husband has been talking about. Same strategy, same sales pitch. Create cute reels, make a sale, and boom, money in your bank. In this account, she made a post urging someone named It's Rachel K to participate in this moment. The post read, "When you buy the course yourself, you can use the lessons inside of it to create a simple Instagram account of your own. Publish cute, easy reels each day. And as soon as you get your first sale, you get a direct deposit of $497 into your bank account." So you can see this is just like her husband's style, except this time it's Jess herself pushing the scheme. One post even says, "No boss, no pyramid schemes, and perfect for beginners." Which, let's be real, when you have to clarify you're not a pyramid scheme, that's not a great look. That alone sets off red flags. If it looks like a pyramid scheme, and it sounds like a pyramid scheme. So, what Jess and her husband actually teach you is how to sell a course. And how to sell a course on how to sell a course. It's just a never-ending resale loop. And when you throw stolen content into that mix, it gets even more shady. The sourdough community has been a safe space for genuine creators. But now that course culture is creeping in, people like Jess are bringing in deceptive tactics. And when that happens, it stops being about bread. It becomes about manipulation and money. Jess isn't just selling bread, she's selling an illusion with other people's work, fake giveaways, and shady sales tactics. And when called out, she goes silent, or pivots, or tries to spin the narrative. It's not mean to want transparency, it's just common sense. And with that, we're wrapping up this video. Truth be told, there's not a whole lot more to say about Micro Bakery Girl outside of that one online course and Sid's findings that put her on everyone's radar. She didn't have some long history of wild takes or endless controversies. It was just what we discussed here, but I believe it was more than enough to tell us everything we needed to know. Because even in that small glimpse, the mindset, the ignorance, and the complete lack of self-awareness were on full display. At the end of the day, Jess clearly isn't built for the kind of attention the internet brings. She might have the passion for pushing her bakery with a clear mind, but the lies and deception around it really tell something else. And for the fact that she won't say anything about it, it just gives us an indication that this may not be a scandal, but a full-blown truth. And if you're going to put yourself out there with dubious activities hoping to leech off others, you better be ready for bold reactions, because that's just how the internet works.